magazine, and we're here to say that socialist ideas are a super fun way to spread joy, cheers, inequality. And then you think that we're aligned, well, here's our story. Well, hold on a minute, there's just one more thing. You gotta understand, capitalism is a rain. Yeah, it's keeping you confined, and it's keeping you down. So read the Masses magazine if you're tired of our frown. So without further ado, here's our story told. I'm talking show it and understand, and Carl Sandburg. Be it poetry, fiction, or sweet essays. It started in 1911 on a day like today.
Say, Eureka! I've got it! Boy, what's your name, boy?
The name's Art Young, sir, and you are?
I'm Piet Black. Hey, I got an idea that's gonna blow your mind. Let me tell you, son. A socialist magazine.
A socialist magazine?
A socialist magazine, that's right. You a socialist, are you?
I reckon I could be.
Alright, now let me tell you something about it. You own a piece, I own a piece of the company, she owns a piece, he owns a piece. We all have equal ownership. Yes, that's right, just like socialism, yes, I know what you're thinking.
I like what you're thinking.
And we use this magazine, we spread the idea to the U.S.
The U.S.?
The masses. Hey, let's call it the masses.
The masses!
What do you think about that? Hey, you heard of Karl Marx? You heard what he said about capitalism, haven't you? A similar movement is going on before our own eyes. Modern bourgeois society, with its relations of production, of exchange, is like the sorcerer who is no longer able to control the powers of the netherworld, whom he has called up by his spells. So, what do you say?
After thorough consideration, I say yes! You got yourself a deal, friend.
Alright.
Many months later.
I love the masses, but it's not doing too hot. So, I give up. Piet Vlag, I'm going to Florida.
Well, with Piet Vlad gone, I reckon we're gonna need some more recruits for this magazine of ours. Say, what about that fellow Max Eastman? I've been having some thoughts about him. He'd probably be a good fit for here. Yeah, Max Eastman. Eastman. Young, at your service.
Nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I see you got my letter. Assume you're here for a reason.
That's right, I already got something written up for you, eh?
That's great news. I'm glad you're eager. But you do know, there's no pay around here.
Well, this magazine has no dividends to pay, and nobody's trying to make any money out of it. We're here for the cause, aren't we?
I'm glad you've got the idea. I think we're gonna be great friends.
Let's get to work. And we did. We got to work quick. Reporting on stories that nobody else would report on, starting with the Paint Creek Cabin Strike, the Great Mining Wars of West Virginia. It began when coal companies in the southern West Virginia declined requests to increase the wages of its workers, inciting the laborers to begin a strike that would spread across the entire southern region. Laborers turned strikers protested using guerrilla warfare against the coal companies to try and take control and ownership of the mines, but they were soon met by camps of company soldiers who built battlements around the towns and gunned down the strikers' homes and destroyed up to $40,000 worth of strikers' property. The Associated Press reported that the workers had turned their backs on the companies out of greed, opting to leave out the conditions that these workers endured, wages they were paid, and the slave-like conditions that company towns imposed upon their inhabitants. Without us, without the masses, injustice such as these would have never been brought to the public, and they never would have been able to be resolved, because after all, there's nothing worse for a company than bad press.
Mining coal, jet black rocks to be the foe. Mining coal, break your body and break your soul. Labor, work for a dime, keep you slaving fast clothes in time. Labor, their true sign, Harvard's wearing soot and grime. Mrs. and the kids at home in the cellar, hiding from the oiled up storyteller. When the soldiers come, you're sure to turn yeller, kicking up dust for Rockefeller. Mining coal, bleed you dry whether young or old. Mining coal for the man who'll buy your world and home.
But that's not all, folks. The masses strike again on April 20th, 1914 in the mining town of Ludlow. We find shots fired on the Rockefeller-owned Colorado Fuel and Iron Company. The strike began in 1913 for the same reasons as the Paint Creek Cabin strike, and developed in a similar way, too. The Rockefeller Company brought in armed men that were meant to protect the company. They did not, however, open fire on the homes of the people or seek to destroy any property to scare them into submission. They waited patiently for a year. They spoke to congressmen and went through it judiciously, but tensions were growing. Rockefeller said this in front of the court.
These men have not expressed any dissatisfaction with their conditions. The records show that the conditions have been admirable. A strike has been imposed upon the company from the outside. There is just one thing that can be done to settle this strike, and that is to unionize the camps. And our interest in labor is so profound, and we believe so sincerely, that that interest demands that the camps shall be open camps, that we expect to stand by the officers at any cost.
And will you do that if it costs all your property and kills all your employees?
It is a great principle.
But this meeting between the Congress and Rockefeller was all for show. The Congress and the government did not care that Rockefeller said he would kill all of his employees if it meant taking back the company. They supported him. They gave him the National Guard, and they joined the company in attacking the camp. They burned it to the ground and killed over 21 people in the massacre, over half of those being women and children. The masses released their next issue shortly after this, with this image on the cover. Rockefeller said this, following the massacre.
There was no Ludlow massacre. The engagement started as a desperate fight for life by two small squads of militia against the entire tent colony. There were no women or children shot by the authorities of the state or representatives of the operators. While this loss of life is profoundly to be regretted, it is unjust and extreme to lay it at the door of the defenders of the law and property, who were in no slightest way responsible for it.
And Rockefeller? Well, he got away with it. They all got away with it. We watched as injustice and massacres became a regular thing in the years leading up to 1917. We watched the growing tensions between the people and their oppressors, continually the people peaceful, continually the oppressors violent, and always we remained strongly opposed to war and violence. Which is why we always opposed the war in Europe. We saw the injustices that were occurring in America, and we realized they were not unrelated to the war in Europe. That's when Art Young said, "Hey, what if the war in Europe is just a way for our oppressors to make more money?" And he drew this, and the writer's room went wild. I even remember him saying afterwards, "Hopefully there's never an espionage act put into law that will make this sort of drawing illegal and put me on trial." Well, that's what happened.
We need to bloody help him! Oh, we're in trouble, aren't we?
This ain't no place to die, son.
President Woodrow Wilson!
Come on! To those who have ears, hear. We realize that war, poverty, and crime are unnecessary in this world of plenty and day of modern science. These evils are due to the concentration of most of the wealth and resources of this country, as well as that of other countries, in the hands of the minority of the population, who are thus able to control a large majority of the people. Resolved, that as it has been proved by the world tragedy across the sea, that violence cannot be conquered by violence, and that the real issue is that of permanent liberty or permanent bondage, perpetual peace or perpetual battle. First, that there shall be no waging of war without a popular vote or referendum. Second, that we demand the resources of the country be returned to the people thereof by public ownership of public utilities and the land. Third, we demand the immediate termination of the carnage across the sea. This to be brought about by withholding supplies until it is accomplished. To further this end, we offer large sums of the American people's money, now in the treasury of Washington, to heal and repair the ravages of the last 2.5 years of war, realizing our share of the blame for these calamities by our previous lack of warmth and our efforts of preservation.
You're Woodrow Wilson, aren't you?
You bet your sweet bippy I am.
Well, I got a sweet biffin' joke for you.
Let's hear it.
What's the difference between a Nazi and a socialist?
What's the difference between a Nazi and a socialist? Let me think. I don't know.
We're actually trying to stop the Nazis.
Oh!
I'm out of here.
Damn those socialists. I ought to... My pen. Where's my pen? Press censorship bill.
I'm John Reed of Masses Magazine, and I want to say that the press censorship bill that has been introduced by the Army War College is absurd. This argument is easily recognized as the old argument of autocracy on grounds of efficiency against democracy.
Ha-ha! I'll show you. Let's just rename this bill and adopt it as the Espionage Act.
The trial went south quickly, with 2 of the 7 members not even bothering to show, not to mention the fact that the jury didn't look too friendly.
The judge came out and he was real serious, and we were not real serious. And he didn't much like that. There was this band outside that kept tooting out the Star-Spangled Banner, so what me and Max would do is we'd stand up and salute every time. The judge would go nuts trying to get us to sit down. It was great.
Eventually, the judge ended up breaking down, and in summary said, "Listen, this trial's a bit silly. You have your rights, and I know that, but it's up to the jury." And when the jury came out, it was hung, with one socialist being the only thing between us and jail.
So then the jury starts motioning to lynch the fella.
To lynch him!
Right there in the court of law.
And so the judge declares a mistrial, and we get off scot-free.
But, that, of course, was only the first one.
You want to oppose World War I? Well, here's a dead French soldier. He lies dead, and he died for you, and he died for me. He died for Max Eastman. He died for John Reed. He died for Merrill Rogers. His voice is one but 1,000 of silent voices that demand these men be punished.
What? Didn't he die for me?
Sure, Bart. Jesus died for you.
Well, listen, we've heard all everybody's piece. Let's see what the jury has to say.
I don't know. We're hung.
Well, I guess it's another mistrial. You guys are free.
Yeah!
And if you're blown away by the swiftness of it, best believe we were too. But that's how it happened. It was over as quick as it started, and they couldn't get us.
Everyone knew the Espionage Act was a joke, even the courts. And they showed it.
But nothing can stop the presses from reporting the truth, and you won't find a more honest magazine than ours.
From the Cabin Creek strike to the Ludlow massacre, and on to a million other events, we told it all, and we stood firmly in our anti-war beliefs until the end of the masses, with the Associated Press and the government sabotaging each step of the way.
And sure, after the trial of masses was over, but it was also the beginning of something new and wonderful. Our new magazine,
The Liberator!